الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi alladhi ja'ala yawmul jum'ati sayyidal ayami wa la nahmadu wa la nasta'innu ila'ihu wa huwa alladhi farada salatu jum'ati bi khalihi ta'ala ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idha nudiya lis-salati min yawmil jum'ati fas'au ila dhikrullahi wa zaru ba'id Wassalatu ala Muhammadin Sayyidil Anam. All praise is due to Allah who gave Friday its period over all other days. Neither worship nor seek the assistance of any other except that of Allah alone, who has made the Jummah prayer obligatory on all Muslims by saying, O believers, whenever you are called to the Jummah prayer, hasten to the mosque and remember Allah and quit business. And we send countless blessings on the Holy Prophet Muhammad, who is the spiritual leader of all humanity, and on his offsprings, and on his honorable companions. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وعد الله الذين آمنوا منكم وعملوا الصالحات ليستخلفنهم في الأرض كما استخلف الذين من قبلهم. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent and the Merciful. Allah has promised to those among you who believe and work righteous deeds that He will of a surety grant them in the land inheritance of power, as He has granted it to those before them. Number one, A community is a complex social system with both physical locus and a social psychological consensus. A population aggregates. B, inhabiting a contiguous area. C, possessing a heritage of common experience. D, having a set of basic service institutions. E, consensus of local unity. And F, able to act as a whole in solving problems. Number 2, geographical locality and physical territory. Now basically, what I have just gone through is what the sociologists refer to as a psychosocial. And a psychosocial deals with the aspect of multi-determinants. In this case, we're talking about the multi-determinants that help to shape and formulate a community. And because of the interest of time, I don't believe that I have time to go into every aspect of what I just read. And so therefore, I'll try to concentrate on item C, in which it states here, possessing a heritage of common experience. And hopefully that will be sufficient for today's khutbah. Possessing a heritage of common experience. I don't think that we realize that the heritage of common experience has more of a unifying factor than in or even in relationship to one's skin complexion. It is more of a factor than even one's race. It is more of a factor than even one's nationality. In illustration, Barack Obama is the first black president of the United States of America. Barack Obama is also the first African American president of the United States of America. But Barack Obama and I don't necessarily share a common heritage of circumstances or experiences. And why do I say that? Because Barack Obama's father was from Kenya, and he came to his country of his own free will, and if I believe and got my history right, it was for the purpose of seeking some educational aspects in relationship to what they were doing in Hawaii. And Barack Obama's mother was white. My ancestors, they came here on slave ships. And they came here in chains. And they did not come here of their own free will. And the so-called American dream was built on the backs of their labor. 179,000 slaves fought in the Civil War. But they didn't fight for the right to become citizens of America. Nor did they fight for the right to integrate with other people, the right to integrate with white folks, the right to go to schools with white folks, the right to, eat in restaurants with white folks. That was not why they fought in the Civil War. They had an agreement with the United States government. And in this agreement with the United States government, it stated that if they fought in the Civil War, they would be given two things. Number one, the birthright that had been given to them from their Creator, which we refer to as freedom. And number two, the right of self-determination, which was defined as 40 acres and a mule. Now, 40 acres and a mule doesn't sound like much. It's not actually a great commodity. But believe it or not, even though when I was in school, when I was a kid, I learned about the Emancipation Proclamation, and then they sweetened it up talking about Lincoln freed the slaves. But I never learned about the 40 acres and a mule. I found out about the 40 acres and a mule from my father, who learned it from his fathers, going all the way back to slavery. And my father emphasized, he stressed the point that after the negotiation took place, after the 179,000 slaves fought in the Civil War, after 40,000 slaves lost their lives in the Civil War, the man reneged on his agreement and never gave us the 40 acres and a mule. He emphasized that to me, the same way it was emphasized to him from his father and his father's fathers, going all the way back to slavery. Because he wanted me to know that the government reneged on their obligation and the responsibility in which they agreed upon as a result of the slaves fighting in the Civil War, that they would give us the right of self-determination. And I emphasize the right of self-determination because, as I said before, 40 acres and a mule is not a great commodity. So it didn't seem like much to give up. But it wasn't the commodity. It wasn't the commodity that they were worried about. It was the fact that they did not want to give the slaves the right of self-determination. In other words, this man knows something about you that you don't know about yourself. That you don't know about your history. He understands your history, which means that he understands your capabilities better than you do. He's always taught that when he found the slaves, they was in the jungle somewhere, naked, and some dude named Tarzan, some white dude named Tarzan, was swinging through the trees on ropes, and you was looking up at Tarzan and calling him the Great Moana. That's what everybody was led to believe. And he failed to teach you about your rightful inheritance of the Islamic empires of Africa. He failed to teach you about Timbuktu. He failed to teach you about the Songhai tribes. He failed to teach you about the great Islamic emperors, Mansa Musa, Soni Ali. He didn't want you to know about that, because he did not want you to know your capabilities. Why? Because he understood that if he had given you, if he had kept his agreement and given you the right of self-determination, then he'd have went to sleep at night and woke up the next morning and you'd have had your own Wall Street, your own Black Wall Street, and he'd have had to burn it down. So rather than that, he created this delusion, this illusion, by giving you the Civil Rights Bill and now telling you that you can rejoice and be happy because you are officially a citizen of the United States. And now you have the right to integrate with white folks. You got the right to sit down in restaurants with white folks. You got the right to go to the same bathroom with white folks. And you should rejoice in that. Why? Because he's giving you a piece of his American dream. The same American dream that was built on the backs and labors of your ancestors. You should be grateful for that. And what else? He's going to give you a bonus. He's going to give you 8 years in the White House. 8 years in the White House. You should be happy. You should be grateful because you're finally getting a piece of the pie. 8 years. Check it out. The White House. The same house that was built by slaves. And so this delusion of gratitude that he wants to give you, that he wants to make you think that you should be grateful for the piece of a pie that he's given you, which your forefathers, your ancestors, were the ones who created the American dream from the backs of their labor. He wants you to forget about that because he's afraid of the fact that if you come to light and begin to understand what your real worth is, then you'll know that the reason why he didn't give you the 40 acres and the mule is because he's afraid of the fact of what would happen if he gave you a sense or the ability to decide your own destination. He's afraid of that. The right of determination. He doesn't want to give you that. When Musa, or Moses, alayhi wa salatu salam, when he finally convinced Pharaoh that it was time for him to let his people be free, it was agreed upon on 2 aspects. Number 1, the birthright that the Creator had given his people. The right to be free, what we call freedom. And number 2, it was the right of self-determination. And what was self-determination? Now read it right here. It says, a geographical locality and a physical territory. To right to go somewhere and find this geographical territory, this geographical locality, and the right to have self-determination in the sense of setting up your own government, your own economic system, your own political system, your own social system, your own penal system, the right to police yourself, so you don't have to worry about black children being shot down by the white police. The right of self-determination. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to the children of Israel. It was the children of Israel's own 40 acres and a mule. And when they found the land, when they found that territory, what they did is they gave it a name. They called it Jerusalem, the city of peace, the home of peace. Jerusalem is a Hebrew name. In Arabic, we say Darussalam or Dar Islam. So Dar Islam was the 40 acres and the mule that was given to the children of Israel. They didn't stick around to argue with Pharaoh about becoming integrated. They didn't stick around with Pharaoh to talk about they want to go into his schools. They want the right to send their children to his schools, the right to eat with him in restaurants. No, they went and sought out their own geographical location and held him to the agreement that he made with them, and that was the right of self-determination, which of course we define as 40 acres and a mule. This is very important because the delusion of this man is that he wants me to declare myself to be an African American so I can give up the right of my ancestors. But I'm not giving up that right. Why? Because I am publicly declaring the fact that I am the sons of slaves. I am of the children of slaves. which means that the agreement that he made with slaves, I am the rightful beneficiary of that agreement. Is I want my 40 acres and a mule. And inshallah, when I get that 40 acres and a mule, I'm going to do exactly what the children of Israel did when they got their 40 acres and a mule. They called it Jerusalem. I'm going to call my 40 acres and a mule Dar al-Islam. And what is Dar al-Islam? Dar al-Islam, definition, the land of Islam, or more simply, Duruna, our country. That is the whole territory in which the law of Islam prevails. It is the unity, or its unity resides in the community of faith, the unity of law, and the guarantees assured to the members of the Ummah. The Ummah, established in consequences of the final revelation, also guarantees the faith, the persons, possessions, and religious organizations, albeit on a lower level. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَعَدَّ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَيَسْتَخْلِفَانَهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ كَمَا اسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. Allah has promised to those amongst you who believe and work righteous deeds that He will of a surety grant them in the land inheritance of power, as He has granted it to those before them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala strengthen us and help us in our endeavor. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers, before I go into the second khutbah, I just want to say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that we have split you up into different nations and tribes. Not that you should despise one another, but that you should know one another. And we see this inference when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about Musa or Moses alayhi wa salatu salam in the Quran, that he broke them up or broke his people up into 12 tribes. And each tribe knew where their drinking hole was. We need to reflect upon that. Because when the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala come down, when the benefits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala come down, when the information and the knowledge that you need in order to move further into the future, when that comes down, it comes down to your drinking hole. It don't come to you as an individual, it comes down to your drinking hole. And so therefore, if you don't know where your drinking hole is, then you won't be there when the benefits come down. You won't be there when the information comes down. You won't be there when the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes down, because it does not come down to you as an individual. It comes down to you in reference to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in tribes, that we split you up into different nations and tribes, and each tribe has a drinking hole. So my suggestion to brothers is, you got to find where your drinking hole is. Again, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala strengthen us and help us in our destination. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah nahmadu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkelu alayhi. Na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa nashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Come salam.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت صلاة قد قامت صلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.